Today's conversation will be about the second phase in the cycle of abuse, called the incident phase. Last week's conversation was about the 4 phases in the cycle of abuse in domestic violence and intimate partner relationships. When the tension finally breaks, an abusive incident follows, and there's some type of physical response. You could have said something or did something harmless, but the reaction was violent. And the person most likely used humiliating and derogatory names towards you and made violent threats. Now, this is not to be confused with just a heated argument in a relationship, as many of us would describe. You can't justify this kind of activity as okay. But you must realize that the situation has moved on to the second phase in the cycle of abuse. In my case, my story, it happened rather quickly. I went to his house to discuss the problems in our relationship, hoping for some kind of resolution. I needed answers and I need reassurance. Reassurance that our relationship was okay, reassurance that it wasn't me, reassurance that going forward we would start to have effective communication, because at this point we had been arguing so frequently it seemed like every week. Instead of coming to that resolution and that reassurance, we started arguing, and then he started calling me names. As I tried to leave, he hit me with the door. And then I tried to defend myself, and he shoved me. I walked away, and once I walked away, he followed me, and then he shoved me against my car. The noise caused a family member to walk outside of the house. And, you would have thought that his love for me or even the family member would have stopped him from further physical activity. However, it didn't. He began hitting me, and the family member just stood there and didn't do anything. I couldn't believe what had happened. It was like in a blink of an eye, I was looking at a totally different person. It's like no life in his eyes, no feeling for me, no feeling for the relationship, or even any conviction to what he was doing. It was about the win. It was about conquering me. It was about dominating and checking me and putting me in my place. That's what I remembered in his eyes. The next day, I remember that same family member told me that it was my fault that happened, that I should have been quiet, and that I should have known better because he had a temper. Couldn't believe it. This happens more than we realize. And you think that the witness would stop the abuse. You think that a friend would step in and check them and hold them accountable and say, hey, what are you doing? This isn't right. Is there a problem? Can I help you? Can I pray for you? You need to talk. You need to vent before it gets to that stage. But unfortunately, the people that we had around us and that family member kept quiet. As much as we want to believe that it's an isolated incident, and as much you want to believe that the other person cares, I wanted to believe that he cared. The situation, it won't get better. And for a brief time, like the eye of a hurricane, it seems as if it'll stop. There's a interesting calm right after that. But instead, it'll lead to the third phase. Now, if you witness someone being physically abused, please call 911 immediately. Please do not be like that family member and say nothing. You never know what might happen. There are resources available. Unlike me, I didn't know. But keep watching, and please make note. And let's break the silence. If we see this happening, say something. Don't just stand there. Speak up. We'll talk next week.